6. The Irrationalism of Rationalism. Stanley Fish, by no means a Christian, has made an important contribution to a theological question. In a chapter entitled, Liberalism Doesn't Exist, Fish ridicules the illusion of liberal toleration. The claim of liberals to be tolerant and their belief that Christians who are evangelical and/or orthodox are not, he sees as an illusion. Basic to all liberalism is a faith, a presupposition that undergirds and informs all their thinking. It refuses to question its basic premise, nor to admit that, behind its faith in reason, there is an unquestioned premise, a faith premise. Quote, Indeed, liberalism depends on not inquiring into the state of reason, depends, that is, on the assumption that reason's status is obvious. End quote. Fish states further, quote, But what if reason or rationality itself rests on belief? Then it would be the case that the opposition between reason and belief was a false one, and that every situation of contest should be recharacterized as a quarrel between two sets of belief, with no possibility of recourse to a mode of deliberation that was not itself an extension of belief. End quote. As a result, Fish terms, quote, the clash between liberals and fundamentalists as a clash between two faiths, end quote. The two premises are, quote, incompatible first principles, end quote. Both begin with a faith premise. Of course, Cornelius Van Til always insisted that all thinking rests on pre-theoretical axioms assumed to be true. Varying systems of thought begin with alien presuppositions, and the only valid means of debate must be to challenge the other's presuppositions. There is another factor to be considered here, namely that the academic mind both enhances thinking by making a fine distinction between things and also can confuse thinking by assuming that the distinctions made are real ones, that is, that things can be separated in life which are inseparable except in thinking. In medical dissection, we can separate veins and arteries, muscles and bones, and so on, which in life are inseparable. So too in the world of thought, we can separate faith and reason as though our dissection had succeeded in piling up faith and reason in separate dissection room trays, when in reality they are inseparable. The dissection methodology has led to an increased knowledge, no doubt, but it has also enhanced our ignorance of things. Reason not only begins with a faith assumption, but continues by presupposing a vast realm of autonomy. Now, nerves, arteries, heart, and more do have a kind of autonomy on dissection trays, but they are all then dead, and the man they came from is dead. In life, they cannot be separated. Faith and reason, as two separate facts and things, rest on a philosophical tradition of questionable validity. It has given autonomy to things which in life cannot have autonomy. It has added to this error by reading back this autonomy in death to living man. It is, moreover, the arrogance of philosophies that leads them to assume that the neat divisions of the dissection room exist in life. As a student, I recall many students enrolling for courses in the philosophy department in a foolish quest for wisdom about life. Their quick conclusion, when not obscenely stated, was that the department was dedicated to obscurantism and idiocy. The insistence of rationalism on the truth and priority of reason is part of intellectualism's mythology. As Aristotle wrote, quote, Socrates believed all the virtues to be forms of knowledge, so that to know justice entails being just. For once we have learned geometry and architecture, we are geometers and architects. End quote. The Greeks saw myth as the precursor to rationality, and this assumption helped colour the argument against religious presuppositions. If the world of thought moves from myth to reason, then religion fares badly and is reduced to myth. It is this kind of Greek rationalism that undergirds Kant and positivism. Very early, religion was relegated to the realm of myths, and reason allied with nature, supposedly an entity and a coherent whole, without recourse to God. Reason was seen as the universal judge, with a duty to examine all things in terms of its supposed autonomy and the self-sufficiency of nature. There were thus, in effect, two autonomous spheres, nature and reason. Thus, God was supplanted in effect by nature and reason, with various links seen between the latter two. Man being a rational animal for the Greek philosophers, it followed logically that virtue and reason went together. The philosophers thus should have been the most virtuous of men. Neither with the Greeks nor the modern philosophers has this been true, and homosexuality has been more common among philosophers than with the population at large, it would appear. But the premise of Greek thought was, quote, "No man willingly does wrong," end quote. The association of rationality with virtue still remains as a hidden premise of rationalism. The invalid premises of rationalism have not hindered its popularity. The easy assumption of moral and intellectual superiority has marked, for example, the many vitriolic critics of Cornelius Van Til's who have routinely indulged in highly emotional name-calling and abuse. Rationalism, however, is a realm of mythology, of ancient and arrogant beliefs by men who are determined to be their own God. Genesis 3:5. The rationalist, by his belief in the autonomy and power of reason, adheres to a very dangerous myth. As Stanley Fish pointed out, liberalism depends on the assumption that, quote, reason's status is obvious, end quote. It is indeed to the rationalist, but others must dissent. It is an irrational assumption for any man to assume the ultimacy of reason in any form. As Van Til often observed, rationalism ends in irrationalism.